Hello students, in the last class we completed the ideal and non-ideal solutions, and again in the non-ideal solutions there are two types of non-ideal solutions: positive deviation from Raoult's law and negative deviation from Raoult's law. After that we completed the azeotropic mixtures. Again there are two types of azeotropies. Number one, minimum boiling azeotropy and maximum boiling azeotropy. Okay. Now in this today's lecture we are going to discuss a very important topic regarding advanced level syllabus, that is the concept of a fractional distillation, bubble point and dew point. So this is a very important concept. Okay. Now what is the meaning of a fractional distillation? Before going to fractional distillation, what is the meaning of a distillation? It is a evaporation followed by condensation. Evaporation followed by condensation. Generally, if you see any liquid, if you heating any liquid, the liquid will undergo evaporation or vaporization. Okay, so you will get vapor, and subsequent cooling of that vapor you will get a liquid. Okay, there is a dynamic equilibrium established between the conversion of a liquid into vapor and vice versa. Are you getting my point? So the subsequent heating of a liquid into vapor followed by condensation of a vapor into liquid, this phenomena is known as a what? Distillation. Okay. In this distillation, especially we can use to purify the two impure compounds. That means when a solution containing two components, out of which one is volatile and other one is non-volatile, so the non-volatile solute can be separated from the volatile component. Okay, otherwise when two liquids are there in a given mixture and they have difference in their boiling point, based upon the boiling point difference we can separate both the components in the pure state. Are you getting my point? That phenomena especially depending upon the boiling point. Depending upon what? Boiling point. Okay, if the boiling point difference will be 30 degrees or above the 30 degrees Celsius, then it is easy to separate the mixture of components from the mixture of components in the solution. Okay, if the boiling point difference will be less than 30 degrees Celsius, then we can use the fractional distillation. Okay, in this process, separation of one liquid from another liquid, that will be the liquid in liquid type of mixtures, should have definitely different boiling points. Okay, now with the help of a fractional distillation, the liquid mixture can be separated in a pure form. Okay, the concept of a fractional distillation is applicable for home ideal solutions, and it is only applicable for those liquid mixtures which have a significant difference in the boiling point. Just now I told you there must be a significant difference in the boiling point, then only we can separate the components in the mixture. Are you getting my point? Let's suppose we have two liquids. Let's suppose liquid A and liquid B in the given mixture. Okay, let's suppose liquid A has high boiling point and liquid B has low boiling point. Let's suppose. Okay, suppose if I am heating the liquid mixture A and B, what happens? The compound which possesses the low boiling point will first vaporize. That means liquid B will first vaporize. Are you getting my point? And the next one, compound A, that is the liquid A which possesses high boiling point, it is also vaporizes, but the mole fraction of liquid B in the vapor phase will be very high as compared to the mole fraction of liquid A, because liquid B is more volatile, because the vapor pressure and boiling point are inversely proportional. That's why the component which has low boiling point has a more tendency to escape into the vapor phase. That means one component will be richer in the vapor phase, that is the liquid, that is the component B, and another component will be in the richer phase in the liquid state. That means the component A. So with the help of that phenomena, we can separate the component A and component B. Okay, such type of technique is called distillation, fractional distillation. Distillation or fractional distillation. Are you getting my point? So here we are going to discuss about the fractional distillation and dew point and the bubble point. Okay, now here more volatile component will be collected in the vapor phase, whereas the less volatile compound will be collected in the liquid phase. Just now I told you, if the component which has a more vapor pressure will be obviously present in a more mole fraction in the vapor phase, and the component which possesses less volatile nature will be exist in the liquid phase. Okay, now the graphical representation of a binary solution. Here consider a binary solution which containing a liquid A and liquid B. Okay, now we are assuming that liquid A is more volatile as compared to liquid B. That means the pure vapor pressure of a liquid A will be greater than liquid B. It is not always compulsory. If you want to take the liquid B more volatile, you can consider liquid B more volatile than the liquid A. This is only assumption. Okay, now we are dealing with binary solutions. Okay, now we are dealing first of all the curve between the vapor pressure versus the liquid composition. Okay, so in the last class we completed the ideal solutions, where in ideal solution of a binary solution there are two components, liquid A and liquid B. What will be the vapor pressure of a liquid A and liquid B? P naught A and P naught B, and their mole fractions in the solution XA and XB, and in the solution their vapor pressures are corresponding to PA and PB. Are you getting my point? Now in the liquid phase composition we can apply the Raoult's law. The Raoult's law is according to Raoult's law, the partial pressure of a component of any component in the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction in the solution. Okay, so PA will be equal to P naught A into XA and PB will be equal to P naught B into XB. Now from Raoult's law, P total is equal to what? PA plus PB. This is valid for only ideal solutions, ideal binary solutions. So PA value P naught A XA and PB value P naught B XB. Now we know the sum of the mole fractions always equal to unity. That means XA plus XB will be equal to unity. So instead of XB, shall write 1 minus XA. After simplification, you will get a total pressure in terms of mole fraction XA. Mole fraction XA. Now if you carefully see this expression, in this expression if you see the P naught A value greater than P naught B, that means this entire term will be the positive value. Okay, now into XA plus P naught B. If you see, this is in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. On the y axis we are taking the total pressure. Okay, that is the vapor pressure of the mixture, and on the x axis we are taking the mole fraction. Okay, now here if you see, so we are plotting the graph between the vapor pressure versus the mole fraction. The mole fraction in the solution phase is XA XB. Okay, so I am taking the mole fraction of component A. If you see from here to here, the mole fraction of A vary from 0 to maximum value 1. Are you getting my point? Suppose if you want to draw the mole fraction regarding the component B, then we have to write the from right to left to the mole fraction of B will be vary from 0 to 1, because sum of the mole fraction will be always equal to what? Unity. Are you getting my point? So here we are taking the mole fraction of component B. B is value 1. That means mole fraction of component A value 0. Okay, as the mole fraction of component A value increases, then the mole fraction of component B value decreases. Are you getting my point? Now if you see, so this is the curve corresponding to total pressure of the vapor pressure of the solution, and this is the line corresponding to the vapor pressure of a liquid A, and this is the line corresponding to the vapor pressure of a liquid B. Okay, so this is a linear relationship, and this is the total pressure of the liquid solution. Are you getting my point? Now the second graph which we are plotting here, vapor pressure versus vapor composition. Now in vapor phase, the liquid A in the vapor phase mole fraction Ya and liquid B vapor phase mole fraction Yb, because here A and B both are volatile compounds, so that's why they have a tendency to escape into the vapor phase. That's why in the vapor phase also liquid A and liquid B exist with the mole fractions Ya and Yb, whereas in the solution phase their mole fractions are assumed to be what? Xa Xb. Xa Xb mole fraction of a compounds in the liquid phase, whereas Ya and Yb mole fraction of a compounds in the vapor phase. Okay, now you see in vapor phase, here in the vapor phase already we know it is in the vapor phase we use Dalton's law of partial pressure. So in the last class already we derived this expression, that means 1 by P total will be equal to Ya by P naught A plus Yb by P naught B. Okay, now here instead of Yb, there is a mole fraction of component B in the vapor phase. What I am trying to write, 1 minus Ya, because we are trying to express the total pressure in terms of mole fraction of component A in the vapor phase. Are you getting my point? After simplification, you will get the P total will be equal to P naught A into P naught B divided by P naught B minus P naught A into Ya. Ya is the mole fraction of a component in the vapor phase, and this will be the P total. Okay. Now if you see, so these are inversely proportional, total pressure and mole fraction of component in the vapor phase. Okay. Now if you see the plot of ideal binary solution, so this dotted line corresponding to liquid phase, just now I told you this is corresponding to liquid phase. But the composition we are dealing with vapor phase composition, mole fraction of what? Vapor phase composition. Are you getting my point? So there will be a curvature line. This is the curvature line regarding to the vapor phase. Okay, and this is the total vapor phase. Okay, of binary solution, and this is the vapor phase curve for the only component B. Okay, and this is the vapor phase curvature, vapor phase expression or vapor phase corresponding to the component A. Are you getting my point? So you may have one doubt, sir, why the straight line, this is the liquid phase, and below the straight line there is a vapor phase. Okay, why we should not write the vapor phase curve above the liquid phase? Okay, why we should not write the vapor phase curve above the liquid phase? Why we have to write the vapor phase curve only along below the liquid phase? Below the liquid phase we are writing the vapor phase curve. The reason here, if you see, liquid and vapor, here there are exist in dynamic equilibrium. Okay, now generally liquids are stable at high pressure and low temperature, but whereas the vapors are stable at low pressure and high temperature. Do you know vapor nothing but indirectly gas? We know gaseous substance, that is the ideal gas. So ideal gas behavior under high temperature and low pressure only. Are you getting my point? Now from here, if you see, if the pressure increases, the vapor will undergo condensation to give the liquid. Yes, that means if you increase the pressure, that means the vapor will undergo condensation to give the liquid. That's why the vapor curve will be below the liquid curve. Are you getting my point? Otherwise, if you decrease the pressure, what happens? Liquid undergo vaporization. That means liquid will condense. Liquid will undergo vaporization to give the vapor. That's why the vapor curve will be below the liquid phase curve. Are you getting my point? Now here, the third curve, that is the vapor pressure curve versus the composition. Here the composition both liquid and vapor. That means first graph is the composition of vapor pressure versus the mole fraction in the liquid phase, and second graph vapor pressure versus the mole fraction in the vapor phase, and vapor pressure versus mole fraction in the vapor phase, and the third curve vapor pressure versus the composition of both liquid and vapor. Okay, let's suppose for both liquid and vapor I am taking a composition ZA, because XA, what is the XA? Mole fraction of A in liquid phase. Okay, now what is the Ya? Same mole fraction of liquid component A in vapor phase. In which phase? Vapor phase. Now we are using the ZA, where ZA will be the mole fraction of A in both liquid and vapor phase. Now here, whatever the total pressure of a binary ideal solution, that should be always lie in between the vapor pressure of a pure components. Yes, let's suppose we are assuming what? Component A is more volatile than the component B. That means our total pressure should be lie in between these two values only. That means the total vapor pressure of a binary solution will be greater than the P naught B and will be less than the P naught A. This is very, very important. Are you getting my point? And the below vaporous curve, system will be 100% vapor, and above liquidus curve the system will be 100% liquid. What is the meaning of this one? Now here you see we are drawing a graph between the vapor pressure versus mole fraction. Here the mole fraction ZA corresponding to liquid and vapor composition, liquid as well as vapor composition. Now here you see, so this is the straight line that is corresponding to liquid curve, and this is the curvature line corresponding to vapor curve. Just now I explained in the second graph. Okay, the straight line corresponding to liquid phase, and the below the straight line the curvature line corresponding to the curvature one corresponding to the vapor phase. Okay, now here temperature is constant, so this is a isothermal process. Okay, now this is called liquidus curve, and the next to the curvature line this is called vaporous curve. So above the liquidus curve 100% the components will be exist in the liquid phase, whereas below the vaporous curve 100% the components will be exist in the vapor phase. Now what about the in between the liquidus curve and vaporous curve? In between the liquidus curve and vaporous curve, both liquid and vapor both are exist in the dynamic equilibrium. So this will be the vapor pressure of a pure component B, and this will be the vapor pressure of a pure component A. Already we know that is the vapor pressure of a component A will be more than that of the component B in the pure state, because A is more volatile than B. Are you getting my point? Now here next point, if you see below vaporous curve, just now I told you what is the below vaporous curve. So this is the vaporous curve, and below the vaporous curve 100% you will get the mixture in the vapor phase, system will be in the vapor phase, and above the liquidus curve this is the line corresponding to liquidus curve. Above the liquidus curve 100% the system will be exist in the liquid phase only. Okay, now what about the in between these two curves? Both physical states are exist in dynamic equilibrium. That means liquid phase as well as vapor phase both are exist in between the liquidus curve and vaporous curve. Are you getting my point? At any fixed composition, physical state of a system changes by changing the pressure. Are you getting my point? What is the meaning of this one? Let's suppose here I am taking any particular fixed composition. Let's suppose I am taking at a particular composition here. At a particular composition, what happens if you changes the pressure? If you change the pressure P1, P2, P3, are you getting my point? If you change the pressure, then what happens? The physical state of a system changes. That means the system should exist in the liquid state or in the vapor state. That will changes. And also at any pressure in between the vapor pressure of a pure component A and B. That means in between the pure vapor pressure of a component P0B and P0B, the system physical state of a system changes by changing the composition. Are you getting my point? That means here if you see, this is the composition, this is the composition, this is the composition, and this is the composition. That means by changing the pressure in between the vapor pressure of pure component A and B, physical state of a system may be changed. That means it may be converted to liquid to vapor or vapor to liquid, vice versa. Are you getting my point? And next one, the fourth graph, that is the boiling point versus composition. Now we know boiling point is inversely proportional to vapor pressure. Yes, boiling point vapor pressure inversely proportional. Okay, vapor pressure means here the pressure exerted by the vapor on the surface of a liquid at a given temperature in a closed container when both are exist in the dynamic equilibrium. Are you getting my point? Now here the liquids which possess high vapor pressure, they have low boiling point, and the liquids which possess low vapor pressure, they possess high boiling point. Okay, now we are plotting the graph between boiling point versus the composition. Now just to reverse to the vapor pressure curve, boiling point curve, because the vapor pressure boiling points are inversely proportional. Here the component B has low vapor pressure, that's why it possesses high boiling point. Okay, component A possesses high vapor pressure, that's why it possesses low boiling point. Are you getting my point? That means the boiling point and vapor pressure curves are inversely proportional. Okay, inversely proportional. That means here you see the component liquid B has high boiling point because it has low vapor pressure. That's why it possesses high boiling point. Liquid A possesses what? Low boiling point because it has high vapor pressure. Now here we are keeping the pressure constant. That's why it is a isobaric process. Now here we are changing the temperature. What we are changing here? Temperature we are changing. Okay. Now this will be the boiling point of a pure component liquid B, and this will be the boiling point of a pure component liquid A. Okay. Now here if you see again there are two curvature. So there are two curvature regarding the boiling point and composition. Okay. Now the upper curve will be the vapor phase and lower curve will be the liquidous phase. Why it is reverse? Because we know as the temperature increases, liquid will convert it into vapor. Yes, that means on heating, liquid can vaporize. That's why the vapor curve will be the upper curve and the liquid curve will be the lower curve. Otherwise, if you decrease the temperature, if you reduce the temperature, the vapors undergo condensation to give liquid. That's why the vapor curve will be the upper curve and the liquidous curve will be the lower curve. In between these two curves, both liquid and vapor are exist in the dynamic equilibrium. Are you getting my point? Here also, in between these two curves, both physical states are exist in dynamic equilibrium. At any composition of physical state changes. At any composition, physical state of system changes by changing the temperature. By changing the temperature, we can change the composition. Okay, physical state of system changes by changing the temperature. And at any temperature between the vapor pressure of a pure component, boiling point of a pure component B and pure component A, the physical states of a system may change by changing the composition. Remember, at any composition, physical state of a system changes by changing the temperature. Otherwise, at any temperatures between the boiling point of pure liquid A and B, the physical state of system may changes by changing what? Composition. That means composition changes, the physical state of a system changes. Are you getting my point? Next, concept of the bubble point and dew point. This is a very important concept. Okay. Now, here, what is the definition of a bubble point? It is the point at which the first drop of a liquid vaporizes, otherwise the first vapor bubble is formed. What is the meaning of this one? It is the point at where the first drop of a liquid vaporizes. The first drop of a liquid vaporizes. That means when a liquid on heating it undergo vaporization, that means at which point the first drop of a liquid will undergo vaporization. That means the first drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. That point is called bubble point. And the corresponding temperature is bubble temperature and the corresponding pressure is called bubble pressure, bubble point pressure. Practically, at the bubble point pressure, it is considered that 100% liquid is present. Let's suppose we have liquid and we have vapor. Both are in dynamic equilibrium because one drop of a vapor is formed. Are you getting my point? That means from one drop of a liquid, one drop of a vapor is formed. That means there is a dynamic equilibrium because there are two phases, liquid phase and vapor phase. Now here vapor will be formed only one drop. That's why it is a very, very minor quantity. Sometimes we can neglect this. So that means almost practical if you consider 100% liquid will be present because only the one drop of a liquid will undergo vaporization. Only first drop of a liquid will undergo vaporization. Okay. Now at the bubble point what we are considering 100% liquid is existing. So we know from Raoult's law the total pressure will be equal to PA plus PB, which is equal to P naught A times of XA and P naught B times of XB. That means at the bubble point, that means almost 100% liquid is exist. For liquid solutions, we can apply the Raoult's law. We can apply what? Raoult's law. Okay. The second point is the dew point. What is the dew point? It is a point at which the last drop of a liquid remains, otherwise the first drop of a vapor condenses. Last drop of a liquid remains, otherwise the first drop of a vapor condenses. Are you getting my point? Now that means suppose here liquid is there and vapor is there. Okay, the last drop of a liquid remaining, that means almost all the liquid will get converted into vapor, but only one drop of a liquid will remains. Only one drop of a liquid remains. Almost all the liquid will undergo vaporization. Otherwise, one drop of a vapor will undergo condensation. Only one drop of a vapor will undergo condensation. So still there is a one drop of a liquid. Are you getting my point? So that's why there is a dynamic equilibrium established. Remember, if only liquid is present, only vapor is present, there will be no equilibrium. Okay, but if liquid and vapor both are present, definitely there must be a dynamic equilibrium. But in case of a dew point, what is the dew point? The last drop of a liquid will be remains. That means almost all the liquid will undergo what? Evaporation or vaporization. Only one drop of a liquid remains. Otherwise, indirectly we can say the first drop of a vapor undergo condensation. With respect to the vaporization, first drop of a vapor undergo condensation. With respect to liquid, last drop of a liquid remains. Last drop of a liquid remains. Okay. Now again practically it was observed that at the dew point almost all the vapor will be maximum and only one drop of a vapor will undergo condensation, otherwise one drop of a liquid will remains. That's why the liquid will be almost negligible, minor quantity, and 100% we can consider practically vapor will be present. Okay, now it exists only okay. Now here this dynamic equilibrium, if you see in between the bubble point and dew point. Okay, so even at the bubble point also dynamic equilibrium is there, at the dew point also dynamic equilibrium is there, and in between dew point and bubble point also dynamic equilibrium is established. Are you getting my point? Now before the bubble point only you have liquid, because at the bubble point only first drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. That means at the bubble point onwards the vaporization of a liquid begins. Are you getting my point? Next, dew point. At the dew point what happens? Only the last drop of a liquid remains, otherwise first drop of a vapor condense. That means almost all the liquid will undergo vaporization. After dew point only you will have pure vapor. There will be no liquid. Are you getting my point? That means in between bubble point and dew point both liquid phase and vapor phase exist. Are you getting my point? Now in case of a dew point, that is in the vapor phase, that means almost all the liquid undergo vaporization, only one drop of a liquid will be left at the dew point, otherwise one drop of a vapor will undergo condensation. Okay, now we know Dalton's law. According to Dalton's law, here the partial pressure will be equal to total pressure multiplied by the mole fraction. Do you know partial pressure Pa is equal to total pressure P total into, now what is the mole fraction? Mole fraction in vapor phase. Mole fraction where? In vapor phase. Okay, now what are the mole fractions of A and B in a vapor phase? That will be Ya and Yb. Are you getting my point? So that's why we are using the mole fractions Ya and Yb. Okay, now here, do you know from the Raoult's law, Pa equal to P naught A XA and Pb equal to P naught B XB. That means we are using here both Raoult's law, we are using Dalton's law as well as Raoult's law. Are you getting my point? Now the combination of both Raoult's law and Dalton's law we are using. Okay, now from here XA is equal to P total into Ya by P naught A and XB equal to P total into Yb by P naught B. Okay, we know XA plus XB equal to unity. With the help of this one we can derive the 1 by P total will be equal to Ya by P naught A plus Yb by P naught B. Are you getting my point? Here P total will be the total pressure. Okay, where Ya, Yb are the mole fraction of component in the vapor phase, and P naught A, P naught B will be the vapor pressure of a pure component A and B. Okay, now here the graph is there here. In this graph, if you carefully observe, on the y-axis we are taking the vapor pressure, and on the x-axis we are taking the mole fraction of the both liquid and vapor phase. Okay, now we know the straight line corresponding to liquidous curve and the curvature corresponding to the vaporous curve. In between the liquidous curve and the vaporous curve you have both liquid and vapor dynamic equilibrium. Okay, now we are considering point A. At a point A, what happens? Pressure will be very high, so the only you will get liquid phase only. Suppose when we move from point A to point B, from point B if you see, this is the point at where the first drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. At a point B what happens? First drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. That means this point B point is called bubble point. This is called what? Bubble point pressure. Bubble point pressure. That means it is a pressure at where the first drop of a liquid will undergo vaporization. So this is the point B. Are you getting my point? Again, if you move to point C, that means by decreasing the pressure, okay, if you see at the point C, you have both liquid phase as well as vapor phase. Yes. Again, if you decrease the pressure to the point D, at the point D, you know at the point D, this is the point of dew, that is the dew point. Dew point. So this is the point at where the last drop of a liquid left remaining, otherwise the first drop of a vapor undergo condensation. That means from B to C, complete vaporization occurs. That means at the point D, almost all the liquid undergo vaporization. Only one liquid droplet will be left at the point D. Otherwise, only at the point D, that means one vapor will condense to only one liquid. That means only one liquid will be present at the point D. That means one liquid droplet will be present at the point D. That means almost all the liquid will converted into the vapor phase. Only one droplet of a liquid will be remaining. Are you getting my point? If you further decrease the pressure, you will reach a point E, where at the point E you will have 100% vapors. You will have what? 100% vapors. Are you getting my point? Now here you see, at a bubble point pressure, we are taking, let's suppose this will be the P maximum pressure. Are you getting my point? So this will be the P maximum pressure. Okay. And we are taking the dew point as a P minimum pressure. Dew point we are taking as a P. This will be the P minimum pressure and this will be the P maximum pressure. Let's suppose. Okay. Now we are comparing the external pressure with respect to the P max and P minimum. Okay. Now what is the P max? The pressure at the bubble point. And what is the P minimum? Pressure at the dew point, that is the point D. Point D. Are you getting my point? First case, when the external pressure is more than the P max will be the bubble point. That means the external pressure will be more than the bubble point. That means, let's suppose this is the point A is the external pressure, which is more than the bubble point pressure. That means you will have only 100% what? Liquid only. 100% what? Liquid exist only. There will be no vapor. Let's suppose if the P external will be less than the P minimum. What is the P minimum here? Dew point. If the pressure is less than the dew point, let's suppose the point E, this is the minimum, this will be the P external, which is less than the dew point. Then only you will get what? Vapor phase. No liquid phase here. If the P external will be in between the B and D. In between the B and D, let's suppose the point C. Let's suppose the point C, external pressure, it is lying between the P bubble point and P dew point. In that case, both liquid and vapor coexisting with dynamic equilibrium. Are you getting my point? And one more important thing, let's suppose if the P external is exactly equal to the bubble point, then what happens? Just first drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. The first drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. That means the first bubble of vapor is formed. First bubble of the vapor is formed at the point B. If the external pressure is exactly equal to the bubble point pressure, then what happens? First drop of a bubble of vapor is formed. In the sense, first drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. Are you getting my point? Suppose if the P external value equal to P minimum, that is the dew point pressure, if the external pressure will be equal to dew point pressure, that means last drop of a liquid remains. Last drop of a liquid remains. Otherwise, the first drop of a vapor, that means from lower to higher, first drop of a vapor undergo condensation. Okay. Otherwise, from top to bottom, last drop of a liquid remains. Last drop of a liquid remains when the pressure decreases. Otherwise, first drop of a vapor undergo condensation when pressure increases. Both are same. Okay. Now here we are taking one closed system here. Here there is a freely movable piston. In this we are taking some liquid, that is a volatile liquid. Which liquid we are taking here? Volatile liquid is taking. Okay. Now here some important conclusions. At point A, what is the at a point A we are considering the pressure is P1 which is very high. So only we have 100% liquid state. Yes. At point B, when the pressure is reduced from point A to point B, what we are doing, we are reducing the pressure to, let's suppose, P2. Then what happens from P to nothing but bubble point pressure, P2 nothing but indirectly what? P2 indirect nothing but what? P max nothing but bubble point pressure. At the bubble point pressure, what happens? First drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. First drop of a liquid will what? Vaporizes. Otherwise, first vapor bubble is formed. That's why it is called bubble point. First vapor is formed. That's why it is called bubble point. Okay. Hence, this point is known as which point? Bubble point. And the pressure is called what? Bubble point pressure. Bubble point pressure. Now, at the bubble point pressure, one drop of a vapor is formed. Okay. One drop of a vapor is formed. So that's why there is an equilibrium established between liquid and vapor. Let's suppose if we are further reducing the pressure, let's suppose the final here pressure P2, and again at a point C, again we are reducing the pressure to P3. That means P3 nothing but the point C. That means both liquid and vapor both are existing the dynamic equilibrium at the point C. Okay. Suppose we are further reducing the pressure to point D, that is, let's suppose P4. At P4, this P4 pressure is nothing but the P minimum, nothing but dew point. At dew point, what happens? The last liquid drop will be remains. The last liquid drop, what happens? That last drop of a liquid remains. Otherwise, the first drop of a vapor condense. The first drop of a vapor condense or last drop of a liquid remains. This point is known as a dew point. Okay. Now, at the dew point, again there is a only one drop of a liquid remains. Almost all the liquid will be converted to vapor. Still there is a dynamic equilibrium because only one drop of a liquid is present. That's why we are considering the liquid and vapor equilibrium. Okay. Now we are further reducing the pressure from D to E. Let's suppose P4 to P5. Further we are decreasing the pressure. Completely the liquid undergo vaporization. Only you will have 100% vapors. There will be no existing of liquid phase. So in the vapor phase only you have the mole fraction of component A and B like Ya and Yb. Whereas in the liquid phase only the components mole fraction will be Xa and Xb. Whereas in the vapor phase Ya and Yb. Are you getting my point? Now here some important diagrammatic representation of this bubble point and dew point. Now first of all, we are taking some liquid in a closed vessel with a freely movable piston. Okay. Now this is liquid. This liquid is completely liquid. There is no any vapor. Okay. Now the vapor pressure of a liquid, let's suppose 0.1 atm. Okay. Now temperature throughout the process, what we are taking? Constant. Now what I am doing? I am raising the piston towards upward direction. Slightly I am raising the piston. When the piston moving upward direction, what happens? When the piston moving upward direction, pressure decreases. So pressure decreases means liquid undergo vaporization. Yes, that means here the liquid try to undergo vaporization. Here what happens? First drop of a liquid undergo vaporization. First drop of a bubble is appeared. This point is called bubble point, and this pressure is called bubble point pressure. Now here liquid will be converted into vapor. That means one drop of a liquid will undergo vaporization. Almost all the liquid will be remains same. Only one drop of a liquid will undergo vaporization. Here the vapor will be almost negligible. Most of the liquid will be present. So almost it is considered as 100%. Okay. Now we can apply the ideal gas equation because there is a one drop of a vapor is formed. So we know PV is equal to nRT by the help of ideal gas equation. So what is the pressure? The pressure of a vapor will be 0.1, and how much of volume? Let's suppose we are increasing the volume here V1. So how much of volume? V1. So number of moles we don't know, that is to be calculated here. Temperature is constant we know, and R is we know, and P value we know, and the V value we know. So with the help of this we can find the number of moles of the vapor. Number of moles of the vapor, that's the first drop of the vapor. Okay. Let's suppose what we are doing, we are further raising the piston towards upward direction. Let's suppose the piston now it is moving from V1 to, now it is moving from V1 to, let's suppose V2. Okay, V2. Again what happens, more vapor will form, more vapor is formed from the liquid. That means this is the first drop of a liquid is first drop of a liquid will undergo vaporization, and after pushing the piston towards upward direction, more amount of the liquid will undergo vaporization. So here the number of moles of vapor increases as compared to the initial case where the only one drop of a liquid will vaporize. Okay, again there is a dynamic equilibrium. Now in the second container, if you see, number of moles of a vapor will be N1. In the next third container, let's suppose number of moles of vapor will be N2. So N2 is always greater than N1 because we are decreasing the pressure, we are reducing the pressure. Okay, now here we can apply the again PV is equal to nRT equation. So P value 0.2, P value here I think it is 0.1. Remember, the vapor pressure is only temperature dependent. Vapor pressure of a liquid here is a temperature dependent. So unless until temperature do not changes, the vapor pressure of a liquid do not change. Are you getting my point? So because we are dealing with constant temperature, so we can find the number of moles here. Now further we are raising the piston towards upward direction. Now the volume, final volume, let's suppose this is raised to from the origin, from the base level to V3. That means what is the base level? This is the base level. This is the height, okay, with respect to this height. Now the piston moving to V3. So here also almost all the liquid will undergo vaporization, but the thing is the last drop of a liquid left here. Last drop of a liquid will be remains here. Almost all the liquid will undergo vaporization. This point is nothing but the dew point. What is the definition of a dew point? It is a point at where the last drop of a liquid remains, otherwise the first drop of a vapor condense. Are you getting my point? Suppose if you see in this direction, the first drop of a vapor will undergo condensation, otherwise in the backward direction if you see, the last drop of a liquid will remains. Okay, again there is a one drop of a liquid is present, again there will be a dynamic equilibrium between liquid phase and vapor phase. Are you getting my point? Now here we can use the ideal gas equation, PV is equal to nRT. Here the number of moles will be further increases because we are decreasing the pressure, that's why liquid undergo vaporization, so number of moles of vapor increases. And finally next what we are doing, we are raising the piston further. So again we are raising the piston further, that means upward direction. Almost all the liquid, that means the last drop of a liquid which is left, that will also undergo vaporization. That means now the system completely has only vapor. The system is completely now has vapor. That means this vapor completely we have now vapor. Initially completely we have what? Liquid phase, and finally we reach to the vapor phase. Now in the vapor phase only this is a nothing but a ideal gas. Vapor phase nothing but, this is nothing but what? Ideal gas. For ideal gas we can apply Boyle's law because the temperature is constant. Throughout the process temperature is constant. Okay. Now further if you want to raise the piston towards upward direction, okay, again you will get the only vapor in the container, only complete vapor. Okay, from here to here if you move, we can apply the PV is equal to constant application, that will be PI VI is equal to PF VF. In this case only we are considering the ideal gas behavior because there is no any liquid. Okay, there is no any liquid with the vapor equilibrium. Remember, when any liquid with vapor, if it is in equilibrium, then we should not use this Boyle's law. Are you getting my point? Only the Boyle's law regarding to vapor phase, that is the ideal gas only. Are you getting my point? Now here some important note here. What is the note here? Vapor to liquid. That what I am doing, I am compressing the vapor. When a vapor compresses, then what happens? It undergo liquefaction. We know in gaseous state, liquefaction of gases, the major important thing is the pressure effect and temperature effect. Okay, when we increase the pressure, the vapor undergo condensation to give liquid compression. In the compression what we are doing, we are increasing the pressure, that means we are reducing the volume. Otherwise, if the reverse process, if you see liquid to vapor means expansion. In this expansion, what we have to do? We have to increase the volume by decreasing the pressure. This is very important. Liquid to vapor, vapor to liquid. Because in this diagram, if you see, so the upper curve will be the liquidous curve and the lower curve will be the vaporous curve. Okay. Now what we are doing? We are decreasing the pressure. Okay. We are decreasing the pressure by moving the piston to upward direction. What happens? Liquid slowly undergo vaporization and finally it will give 100% vapor. Are you getting my point? Otherwise, if you increase the pressure from lower to higher level, the vapor will undergo condensation to give finally only liquid, 100% liquid. Are you getting my point? Now here, the vapor pressure of a liquid depends upon what? We know already in the concept of vapor pressure. So nature of a liquid, this is very important because the vapor pressure, nothing but the pressure exerted by the vapor on the surface of a liquid when both are exist in the dynamic equilibrium at a constant temperature in a closed vessel. So here the tendency to escape into the space, that is called rate of what we say evaporation. So more tendency to escape into the space, more rate of evaporation, more vapor pressure. So that's why we have to see the nature of liquid. We know petrol, we know water. Both the liquids, if you compare at room temperature, when both are kept in a open container, which liquid will be readily vaporized? Obviously petrol, because in petrol there is a weak intermolecular force of attraction. That's why the molecules are try to escape into the space. Okay, are you getting my point? But whereas in water, due to strong hydrogen bonding at room temperature, so water molecules have less tendency to escape into the space. That's why petrol has high vapor pressure, whereas water has low vapor pressure at room temperature. Okay, next to temperature. This is very important. As the temperature increases, the vapor pressure of a liquid also increases in an exponential manner. Okay, we know in previous lecture regarding the vapor pressure concept. Okay, and the purity of a liquid. When a non-volatile solute is added to a volatile liquid, then its vapor pressure obviously decreases. This phenomena is called lowering of vapor pressure. Already we know this concept. Okay, now especially for a given pure liquid, so we are considering liquid to be pure, and the vapor pressure depends only and only on the temperature, because liquid is fixed. Okay, and no pure, no impure, that means liquid is pure, liquid is fixed, that means the remaining factor is only one factor which governing the vapor pressure, that will be the temperature. Okay, so one more important thing, this vapor pressure of a liquid, the vapor pressure of a liquid, it is given in the numerical. It will be given in the numerical because it is experimental data. It is a which data? Experimental data. That's why it should be given in the question. It must be given in the question. That is the vapor pressure of a pure liquid. And the vapor pressure of a pure liquid, which is independent on the amount of a liquid, this is very important, shape and size of the vessel and the volume of the vessel. This is very important. Okay, the vapor pressure is only a function of only function of whom? Temperature. This is very key point, important point. Okay, now liquid vapor, there is a equilibrium. Let's suppose we are considering the water and vapor, that is the steam. If you see, both are exist in the equilibrium, let's suppose. Okay, water is a liquid state, vapor will be a gaseous state. Now if you see the equilibrium constant, K equilibrium will be equal to the product of a concentration of a product, nothing but the product of a concentration of a product, that is nothing but the vapor, that means Kp will be equal to partial pressure of a product nothing but what? Vapor, and reactant will be the liquid. So we should not consider the vapor pressure of a liquid. Are you getting my point? Now the Kp value corresponding to vapor pressure, or partial pressure. Okay, now The Kp value, do you know? Only it is depend upon temperature. We know in the chemical equilibrium, factors affecting the equilibrium constant. Okay, for a particular reaction, for a given particular chemical reaction, the equilibrium constant will be depend on what? Temperature. So as long as the temperature remains constant, the Kp value constant. When the Kp value constant, the vapor pressure is also constant. That's why the vapor pressure of a liquid is a function of only and only what? Temperature. This is very, very important. Are you getting my point? Now, the question number 40. What is the question number 40 here? In a closed container of volume 5 liters, a vapor has a pressure of 250 mm. Suppose this is a closed vessel. Okay, here only vapor will be present. What is the vapor pressure? 250 mm of Hg at the 300 Kelvin. Okay, now the volume of a container is 5 liter. Now what is the question? When it is transferred into the 15 liter evacuated vessel, so there is a empty container of closed vessel of 15 liter. Now this is completely what? Transferred into the evacuated 15 liter vessel. So we are transferring the vapor, okay, into 15 liters in a evacuated vessel at the same temperature. Then find the pressure. Now here this is a vapor. This is what? Vapor. So for vapor, that means for gaseous state, we can apply the Boyle's law. We can apply Boyle's law. Yes. What is the Boyle's law? Application P1 V1 will be equal to what? P2 V2. P1 will be the initial pressure, that will be 250 mm, and the volume will be the 5 liter, and final pressure to be calculated. And what is the final volume here? 15 liters. Final volume is what? 15 liters. So 5 ones are 5 threes are. So P2 will be equal to 250 by 3. So nearly approximately this will be 83.1 millimeter of Hg. Are you getting my point? That means what we are applying the concept here, only we are considering vapor as a gas. For gases we can apply the Boyle's law because the temperature is constant. Temperature is constant means pressure volume inversely proportional. Okay. Now question number 41. In this question number 41, in a closed vessel of volume 10 liters, a liquid has a vapor pressure 200 bar at 27 degrees Celsius. When it is transferred into a evacuated vessel of a volume 5 liters at the same temperature, then find the final pressure. Now remember, first of all, we are taking one closed vessel of volume 10 liters. Okay, this is the closed vessel of volume 10 liters. Now in this what happens? Liquid has a vapor pressure. That means here liquid is taking aim. Along with the liquid, some vapor is also present. Some vapor is also present. Okay. So this is a liquid and this will be the vapor, and both are exist in the dynamic equilibrium. Now what is the question? Now it is transferred into another evacuated 5 liter container at the same temperature. Now this is transferred into the another container. Are you getting my point? Now the question is find the final pressure. Find the final pressure. Now just now I told you the vapor pressure of a liquid is a function of only temperature. Unless until temperature do not changes, the vapor pressure of a liquid do not changes. This is very, very important. The key point of the question here, the vapor pressure of a liquid is only depends on the temperature. Only depends on the temperature. Are you getting my point? Now it does not depend on the volume of the container, volume of vessel. Just now I told you, amount of the vessel, shape and size of the vessel. Are you getting my point? Because whenever there is a dynamic equilibrium established between liquid phase and vapor phase, just now I told you, here equilibrium constant Kp will be equal to the partial pressure of the vapor. Are you getting my point? So whenever temperature remains constant, that means the Kp value do not changes. That means the vapor pressure also do not changes. Are you getting my point? The vapor pressure in the new container the vapor pressure in the new container, that is a 5 liter vessel, new container is also 200 tar. This is very, very important. Are you getting my point? Whenever there is no change in the temperature, so that there will be no change in the vapor pressure. Okay, only the thing is there is a equilibrium establishing between that. Okay, now there is a new equilibrium established, according to which, again, to keep the Kp value constant, so the equilibrium will interchange. The equilibrium will be, that means forward, backward, forward adjustment takes place, and finally again the maintain the final pressure in the system, that will be 200 tar. Are you getting my point? Now one more question is there, that is the question number 42. In a closed container of a volume 5 liters 30 degrees Celsius, the total pressure of nitrogen gas in water is 600 mm of Hg. That means here one container is there. In this container, water plus nitrogen gas is there. So let's suppose this is the water, okay, and this will be the nitrogen gas. What is the volume of the container? 5 liters. And P total, that is the total pressure, is given 600 mm. Here the total pressure corresponding to pressure of dinitrogen gas and pressure of aqueous, that means water, PH2O, will be equal to 600 mm. Okay. Now it is transferred to a evacuated vessel of a 10 liters. Now this is completely shifted into a evacuated vessel of what? 10 liters. That means this is completely what I am doing? Transfer. Okay. Now here, at the same temperature, find the new pressure. Given that the vapor pressure of water at 30 degrees Celsius will be 50 mm. So the pressure of aqueous, that means the aqueous tension or water vapor pressure, will be given 50 mm. So that's why we have to minus the 50 mm from the total, so that we will get only the pressure of dinitrogen, that will be equal to 550 mm. So this is the actual pressure of a dry gas. Pressure of which gas? Dry gas. We know numericals in the Dalton's law. Okay, how to calculate the pressure of a dry gas. Okay, now we can apply the Boyle's law for dry gases. Okay, now from Boyle's law, P1 V1 equal to what? P2 V2. What is the P1 value of a dry gas? 550, and its volume will be 5 liters, and P2 to be calculated, and it is shifted to 10 liter container. So 5 ones are 5 twos are. So what is the pressure of dinitrogen in the second container? That will be 275 mm. But the question will be the P total. P total will be always equal to P nitrogen plus PH2O. Okay. What is the nitrogen pressure in the second container of 10 liter? 275. And what is the vapor pressure of water? That will be the 50. Okay, it will not changes unless until temperature do not changes, the vapor pressure of water do not changes. Remember, it is independent on the volume of the vessel. Are you getting my point? So the overall value will be equal to 325 mm of Hg. 325 mm of Hg. Okay. And one more question, that is the most important question regarding the bubble point to dew point. Okay. Now the question is, here the question is, benzene and toluene forms nearly ideal solution at the 300 Kelvin. The vapor pressure of a pure benzene and toluene are respectively 200 mm and 100 mm. Okay, of Hg. If the liquid mixture is compressed of 2 moles of benzene and 3 moles of toluene, then find. There are 4 questions. The first question, if the pressure over the mixture at 300 Kelvin is reduced to what pressure, so that the first vapor drop will be formed. That means the bubble point. It is a question of P bubble point, the pressure of a bubble point. Next, second question, what is the composition of the first trace of the vapor formed? That means the first bubble of vapor is formed. What is the composition in the vapor phase of the first drop of the bubble? Okay. Next question, if the pressure is further reduced to at what pressure, so that the last trace of a liquid disappear. That means only the last drop of a liquid will be, that means dew point. What is the dew point? It is the point at where the last drop of a liquid remains. If you increase the temperature, if you increase the pressure, what happens? Again that will be further converted into the vapor. Otherwise, last drop of a what we say vapor undergo condensation. And what will be the composition of the last trace of the liquid? There are 4 questions. Okay. Now let's suppose one by one question we are solving. First one, let's suppose I am considering benzene is a component A and toluene I am considering it is component B. Are you getting my point? Now here, what is the partial vapor pressure of a component of benzene? That will be given as a 200 mm of Hg. Okay. And what will the component of toluene pure vapor pressure? That will be 100 mm of Hg. And number of moles of a benzene 2 moles. So number of moles of a benzene 2 moles. And number of moles of a toluene will be the 3 moles. Okay. With the help of number of moles, shall I find the mole fraction of benzene in the solution? Yes. XA is equal to Na by Na plus Nb, that will be 2 upon 5, and Xb will be equal to Nb upon Na plus Nb. Okay. Now here the first question, if the pressure over the mixture at 300 Kelvin is reduced to what pressure so that the first drop of vapor will be formed. Okay. Now for a first drop of vapor form, for a first drop of a vapor form, that is the bubble point. Now at the bubble point we can apply the Raoult's law. We can apply which law? Raoult's law. Okay. So what is the Raoult's law? P total is equal to PA plus PB. Okay. So I am writing P total will be equal to PA plus PB, nothing but P naught A XA plus P naught B XB. Okay. Now P naught A will be equal to 200 times of XA, nothing but 2 upon 5. P naught B nothing but 100 times of XB, nothing but 3 upon 5. Are you getting my point? This will be 80 mm and the second one will be the 60 mm. Overall you will get the 140 mm. Are you getting my point? This is the first bubble point that is formed at the bubble point. That means the first drop of a liquid undergo vaporization, in the sense the liquid and vapor exist in the dynamic equilibrium where liquid will be major and the vapor will be neglected. Only one drop of a vapor is formed, that's why the vapor will be neglected. So finally at bubble point, what will be the P? That will be equal to 140 mm. So bubble point pressure always calculated from the Raoult's law. That will be P total will be equal to P naught A XA plus P naught B XB. This is the first question. Okay. Now come to the second question. What is the second question? The composition of the bubble point, that is the trace of the first vapor formed. What is the composition? So the second question will be the composition of first trace of vapor bubble, first trace of vapor, that is a vapor bubble. Okay. Now we know mole fraction of A, that is the benzene in vapor phase. In the vapor phase, let's suppose we are considering as a Ya, and mole fraction of component B, that is the toluene in the vapor phase, let's suppose this will be the Yb. Okay. In the first vapor, in the first vapor bubble. Okay. Now here we know from Raoult's law Pa equal to P naught A times of XA. Okay. But from Dalton's law, partial pressure will be equal to total pressure multiplied by mole fraction, but the mole fraction in the vapor phase. This is Raoult's law and this will be the Dalton's law. This will be what? Dalton's law. Are you getting my point? Similarly, this is the liquid A. Okay. So we can write the LHS same. So we can write from the LHS, we can write the RHS value, that will be equal to P naught A into XA will be equal to P total into Ya. Similarly, we can write for liquid B, P naught B XB will be equal to P total into YB. We can write directly where liquid B. Are you getting my point? Now this will be the equation 1, this will be the equation 2. Okay, if you see 1 divided by 2, you have YA upon YB will be equal to P naught A XA upon P naught B XB. Okay, this is a very important relation. In the last class also we used this relation to calculate the mole fraction in the vapor phase. If you know this relation directly, you can use this relation, that is YA by YB equal to P naught A XA multiplied P naught A multiplied by XA divided by P naught B XB. Okay, now YA mole fraction of benzene A in the vapor phase divided by YB mole fraction of toluene in the vapor phase. What will be the benzene pure vapor pressure? 200 mm, and toluene vapor pressure will be 100. What will be the mole fraction of benzene A in the liquid phase? XA liquid phase 2 by 5, and this will be 3 by 5, 2 by 5, 3 by 5. So I am writing 2 by 3. Okay, so this is the YA upon YB. What is the relation between YA and YB? That will be equal to 4 by 3. And one more relation we know, YA YB, we know sum of the mole fraction of components in the vapor phase, that is YA and YB. So YA plus YB equal to what? 1. And YA by YB equal to 4 by 3. So YA YB, two unknown, and we have two linear equations. By solving this, so let's suppose this is the equation 3 and equation 4. Solving equation 3 and equation 4. So finally you will get YA will be equal to 4 upon 7 and YB equal to 3 upon 7. So this is the composition of the first bubble, first vapor bubble. Are you getting my point? Now question number 3. What is the question number 3 here? Find the composition of the, if the pressure is further reduced, at what pressure does the last trace of a liquid disappear? That means almost last drop of a liquid remains, or first drop of a vapor condense, that is the dew point. Dew point. Are you getting my point? Now here at the dew point, last trace of a liquid remains, last trace of a liquid remains, or first vapor drop condenses. Are you getting my point? Okay, now here vapor versus, that means vapor and liquid, they are exist in the dynamic equilibrium, but whereas the vapor will be the major, only one droplet of liquid will be present. This is minor, this can be neglected also. So we can consider almost 100% we have vapor. Almost 100% we have vapor. Are you getting my point? Now for vapor phase we can use one relation. What is the relation for vapor phase? For vapor phase we can use one relation. The relation will be 1 by P total. Already we will discuss in the last class. It is YA divided by P naught A plus YB divided by P naught B. So we can directly use, this is regarding the dew point. This formula is used for regarding the dew point. Otherwise I am deriving this formula also. So in the previous question, what is the, in the third question, what is the equation number 1 and 2? Equation 1 will be P naught A times of XA will be equal to P total times of YA, and one more P naught B into XB will be equal to P total times of the YB. Okay, by these two equations we can derive the above relation. Okay, now what I am writing here? I am writing here XA upon P total, XA upon P total, XA upon P total, shall write YA upon P naught A, and similarly XB upon P total will be equal to YB upon P naught B. Okay, let's suppose this is equation 1, this is equation 2. Okay, now add 1 and 2. So you will get XA upon P total plus XB upon P total will be equal to Ya upon P naught A plus Yb upon P naught B. Yes or no? Here if you see the 1 by P total, if you see the LCM P total, so you will have in the numerator XA plus XB whole divided by P total. Okay, we know P XA plus XB equal to 1, so that's why here overall you have 1 by P total will be equal to 1 by P total will be equal to Ya divided by P naught A plus Yb divided by P naught B. You can directly use this relation. Okay, otherwise you can first of all derive this relation and then you can use the relation. Okay, so it is well and better to use the relation directly. Okay, now this is only for dew point, at dew point. Okay, now here what will be the Ya and Yb? What will be the Ya and Yb here? Here the Ya and Yb nothing but the mole fraction of components A and B in the vapor phase. Now you see this is a liquid A and liquid B. Okay, now this is a liquid phase. Okay, now here also liquid A, liquid B in the vapor phase. In the liquid A, in the liquid phase, the mole fraction of component A 2 by 5 and mole fraction of component B will be the 3 by 5. Yes or no? Mole fraction of component A 2 by 5, yes. Mole fraction of component B 3 by 5. Now what happens? Almost all the liquid undergo vaporization. That means completely you have vapors here. That means whatever the mole fraction of component A, that will be in the mole fraction in the vapor phase also, that will be 2 by 5. And whatever the mole fraction of component B, that will be completely converted in the vapor phase, that will be 3 by 5. So law of conservation of mass. Okay, whatever the liquid mole fraction of A in the liquid phase, that will be completely transferred into the vapor phase. Now we are using, instead of Ya nothing but Xa, that will be equal to 2 by 5, and Yb nothing but indirectly Xb, that will be equal to 3 by 5. Remember, this will be only when 100% the vapor will form from the liquid. 100% liquid will get converted into the vapor, that is nothing but the indirectly dew point. Okay, now Ya we know, Yb we know. Are you getting my point? Now what will be the total pressure? Now here 1 by total pressure to be calculated is equal to Ya 2 by 5 and P naught A, that will be 200 plus Yb, that will be 3 by 5 divided by total vapor pressure of a pure toluene, that will be 100. So after simplification you will get the total pressure, that will be equal to 125 mm of Hg. Are you getting my point? So what will be the P total at the bubble point? The P total at the bubble point will be equal to 140 mm of Hg. If you further reduce the pressure to 125 mm, then you will have almost all the vapor. That means all the liquid will get converted into the vapor. And the next fourth point will be the composition. Okay, composition of last trace of liquid. Are you getting my point? Now the last trace of a liquid, again this is a liquid, so we can use Raoult's law. So P total will be equal to P naught A times of Xa plus P naught B times of Xb. Okay, what will be the P total at the dew point? That will be 125 mm. P naught A will be 200. What is the Xa value to be calculated, and what will be the P naught B? 100. Do you know Xa plus Xb shall write 1, because sum of the mole fractions is always equal to unity. So with the help of Xb, I am writing 1 minus Xa. Are you getting my point? So from here we have Xa value. You have Xa value, that will be equal to 0.25. and Xb value, that will be equal to 1 minus of Xa, that will be 0.75. So this is the mole fraction of the last drop of a liquid phase, last trace of a liquid drop. Are you getting my point?